Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, dozens arrested in South Africa after looting and protests in Johannesburg and Pretoria. Although foreign-owned shops are targeted, authorities say that the unrest is more about criminality than xenophobia. We hear from a correspondent in the country. Also, classrooms in Cameroon's English-speaking regions are deserted after pupils stay away once again amidst the ongoing uncertainty and violence caused by the Anglophone crisis. And disbelief and desecration. Fans of Ivorian coupe décalé superstar DJ Arafat break into his coffin. Police arrest a dozen people suspected of being linked to breaking into his grave. But first, South African police are downplaying the possibility that xenophobia is behind a wave of looting and protests in Pretoria and Johannesburg. At least 50 foreign-run shops, many owned by Nigerians, were torched on Monday in Johannesburg suburbs. At least 70 people have been arrested. Unrest reportedly began on Sunday after 3 people were killed in a fire in Johannesburg's central business district. This all happening against the backdrop of tense protests in the transport industry. Aisha Ishmael tells us more about what happened on Monday.
We've seen shops being looted, we've seen people being beaten and attacked, and these are clashes between South Africans and foreign nationals. When I say foreign nationals, we're talking about other Africans, nationals from the African continent, and this is not unique. I mean, this has happened before where we've seen South Africans looting shops belonging to foreign nationals, and they say that we've heard people on social media and videos posted on social media saying, South Africans saying, we've had enough of these foreign nationals, they must leave, they're taking jobs away from us, they're taking houses away from us, and they're overburdening our system. And what apparently sparked the violence on the weekend was there was a taxi driver in Johannesburg that was shot dead. Then there was also a fire in an apartment building, which led to the deaths of 3 people. And for lack of a better term, all hell broke loose in parts of Johannesburg, and we saw shops being looted. And unfortunately, these were businesses belonging to foreign nationals, and so mostly foreign nationals became the target of South Africans who were apparently upset about this fire in this apartment building.
So despite foreign nationals being targeted, police are saying it's the unrest is not motivated by xenophobia. What's your take on what's led to the escalation of the unrest seen in Pretoria and Johannesburg recently?
Well, there were some South African shops also looted. There was a business where 40 cars were burnt. But what we need to remember is that if one looks at the perpetrators and the victims, what do they have in common? They are all black, they are all poor, and they are all looking for opportunities. So it all boils down to economics. It's about poor people competing for scarce resources. And so when South Africans say that foreign nationals are coming to South Africa and they're taking away jobs from South Africans, they're saying that foreign nationals are taking away houses from South Africans. And if we look at the education system and also at the health system, South Africans are saying that foreign nationals are putting pressure on an already overburdened healthcare system. And this is something that the South African government needs to look at, because if one does look at the victims, they are mostly African nationals that are being targeted.
Aisha Ishmael there for us. Now, in Cameroon, despite a back-to-school campaign aimed at convincing people in English-speaking regions that it was safe for kids to turn up to class at the start of the school year, few pupils ventured out on Monday. Our correspondent tells us more.
While students in Cameroon's French-speaking regions went back to school on Monday for the new academic year, those in the English-speaking regions did not. The country's 3-year-old Anglophone crisis has continued to devastate lives with violence and uncertainty. Early Monday, gunshots rocked major cities in the northwest and southwest regions. Authorities think it was a deliberate tactic by Anglophone separatist fighters to scare off students and teachers from schools. They seem to have succeeded as most classrooms were deserted on Monday. Teachers have been targeted, thousands of schools shut down, and student attendance progressively on a decline since 2017. Although the soldiers in Cameroon have also been accused of raiding schools, militants have vowed not to allow schools to resume unless their jailed leader, Sisi Kwayok Tabe, is released. Now, before Monday, government carried out campaigns to encourage Anglophone children to go back to school with promises of improved security. Now, most people are still not sure, as they think it is very risky to send their children to school.
Indira Ayak there for us. Now, Kenya's suspended visits to the gorges of its famous Hell's Gate National Park after 7 people were killed in a flash flood there. 6 people from one family and their Kenyan driver died on Sunday evening when their group of 13 got caught out in heavy rains. 2 of those killed were children. Some locals have said that environmental degradation may have increased the risk of flooding in the area. At least 12 people have been arrested in Ivory Coast after disbelieving fans broke into the coffin of Ivorian superstar DJ Arafat over the weekend. The 33-year-old left the Coupé Décalé world reeling after he died in a motorcycle crash last month. Many Ivorians are shocked at the length to which some fans would go. Frank Hersey tells us more.
Just moments after friends and family said their final farewell around the tomb of DJ Arafat, images and photos of supposed fans breaking into the tomb were swirling around social media worldwide. The images showed the fans breaking into the tomb, opening the casket, and even partially undressing the body to look for the tattoos they thought would identify him. This followed a through-the-night memorial concert in a stadium that had gone extremely well and would have been something to be very proud of. The coffin was brought in and opened as a way to show the crowds there that it was indeed DJ Arafat. And so now there's a sense of shame among Ivorians.
I'm really unhappy. Those who did it aren't human. I'm shocked. I'm not happy at all. We have to arrest all of those involved and put them in prison.
But why did the kids go and do that? It's not normal. They've brought shame on Ivory Coast. They've brought shame on the state.
When I saw the video, I couldn't believe it. I really didn't like what I saw. I didn't believe it at first. It was only when it was confirmed that he'd been dug up. Watching it hurts. I feel wounded.
The defence minister who presided over the arrangements at the stadium has denounced the act, and authorities here in Abidjan have said that 12 people have been arrested following the incident. But many Ivorians fear that what they'd hoped to be a peaceful send-off will instead be remembered for these final images.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has wrapped up a 3-day trip to DR Congo. He pledged the UN support in the country's struggle to contain the spread of an Ebola epidemic that's left over 2,000 dead over the last year or so. Nicolas Chemin has more.
Antonio Guterres did not make any specific announcements, but he did stay 3 days in Congo. The message was that the UN is concerned about the country's difficulties. On Monday, he met President Félix Tshisekedi. Guterres wants the UN Security Council to renew the mandate of the UN mission here, MONUSCO, before the 1st of January. Peacekeepers help the national army in its struggle against armed groups like the ADF in eastern Congo.
One of the results of this visit is the decision that we took in cooperation with the President of the Republic to reinforce the operational capacity of MONUSCO, specifically in relation to the ADF. We have strengthened this cooperation between MONUSCO and the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo in order to be more effective.
His other priority was the fight against Ebola. Guterres traveled to Mangina near the town of Beni. This is where the epidemic broke out over a year ago. Some residents are wary of the treatment. And the UN chief congratulated those who had consulted doctors in special centres.
He showed up here. It was detected. He underwent treatment. He is cured. So I appeal to all those who are undergoing treatment and to all those who were cured. You have to be our spokespersons.
In just over a year, Ebola has killed more than 2,000 people in Congo. Guterres said donor pledges for 2019 were satisfactory, but the problem is that only 15% of them have been paid out so far.
Tunisia's presidential election campaign officially kicked off on Monday. 26 candidates are in the running to replace Beji Caid Essebsi, who died in office in July. Our correspondent sent us this report.
As the clock struck midnight on Sunday night, dozens of people on the streets of the capital started putting up posters of the candidates they support, a friendly atmosphere marking the beginning of the presidential campaign.
It's a lot of work and there's lots of enthusiasm. We're all volunteers. We started the campaign by putting up posters all over the country.
Tunisians have a lot of choice in this election, a stark contrast to 2014, when the electorate was more polarized following political crises. This year, most voters are still undecided.
I'm hesitating between two candidates, and I haven't really decided yet.
Televised debates between candidates will be broadcast to help voters make an informed choice, a first for Tunisia and for the Arab world. Debates will be held over 3 evenings due to the high number of candidates.
We have production groups and well-established journalists. We've confirmed with both private and public TV stations, and we are developing an entire guideline to carry out these debates.
One of the election candidates, Nabil Karoui, has been in prison since August 23rd. He's under investigation for tax evasion and money laundering. For now, the courts haven't issued a ruling on whether he can participate in the debates.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. See you again. Take care.